Hi, I'm Steve Sequel. I'm the Strategic Product Planner for high-speed BERT products in digital photonic test. Okay, and today I'm here to talk about data center networking standards, what drives the market in that area, the fragmentation we see with the standards and the challenge that provides the test engineer, and what Keysight is doing to really address that fragmentation and make it better for the engineer that has to implement the testing of these standards. Okay, data center networking, I use that term, a lot of people use that term in the industry. What does that really mean? It's really the interconnect, if you go inside a modern data center that we have with Ethernet, fiber channel, that interconnects the servers, the switches, top-of-rack switches, and all the equipment. This can be very, very short reaches or reaches approaching a kilometer. There's just been a huge amount of growth in this in the last few years, largely driven by consumers with the desire for streaming video, with the interconnect with wireless. Now we have video on demand, people with Facebook pages, as well as the enterprise. Companies used to have the servers in their basement. Now they've gone to doing all their storage on the cloud, so they've gotten rid of the local storage and pushed that all on the cloud. This puts a huge demand on data centers, and there's just been a lot of construction in this area. Data centers are getting larger and larger all the time. The challenges for the design engineer or the system characterization engineer is the fragmentation of the standards, that we don't have one standard or one standard body driving all of these data center networking standards. We have a significant contribution from IEEE in the Ethernet arena. We have the OIF generating the common electrical interface standards that many of these are based on. Fiber channel has a strong role to play, and InfiniBand is in there as well. Okay, if we look at the challenges of moving from 10 gigabit to 100 gigabit, which is enabled by 25 gigabit lanes, all of these standards have a lot of similarities, but there's some fine nuances and difference that are really based on the application, because the application space, the various standard bodies have to tailor them for their needs. And understanding how all the tests are done is a real challenge for the system integrator or the characterization engineer. Keysight's played an important role in the standards to try to minimize some of these problems that you have with having to deal with so many of them, and we've done that through active participation in the standards working groups. These are people that actually write the standards, and we have several people in the company involved with that. On the data center side, I actually represent Keysight for fiber channel, and recently I picked up the role in the OIF CEI standards as well. I have colleagues that handle the optical side of OIF, and as well as colleagues that handle the Ethernet. And we all work together very closely on this. Our role in that is really attending all the working meetings, reviewing the drafts, actually contributing to the test methodology. My influence in this has really been in trying to simplify the testing, and particularly with the intent of trying to make the test more repeatable. If you look at the earlier versions of the standards, there's been a lot of interpretation required by the reader and user of the standard, and that's always bad, because interpretation allows different interpretations, and then we can have situations where we don't have test repeatability, and when we have component vendors testing compliance and they believe they're compliant, system integrators testing the same part coming in and they believe they're not compliant, and there's finger pointing going on, and that's always bad when that's a problem with the standards. So I've taken a real active role in 32G fiber channel and 28G CEI work to try to make sure that the test method is repeatable and we eliminate as much as we possibly can of ambiguities that would cause these problems with the user. Okay, the jump from 10 gigabit to 100 gigabit has been really evolutionary. There's a lot of challenges for you, as you well know, and now we're dealing with completely closed eyes and things like that we didn't have to deal with before. But it essentially has been a real evolutionary change. The next step in the data center world is the jump from 100G to 400 gigabit links, and this is going to require 56 gigabit lane rates that are largely going to be implemented with PAM4. And the switch from NRZ that we've been doing for 50 years to PAM4 signaling is just monumental. It's really revolutionary. There's a lot of things we take for granted they're going to have to change, and the industry as a whole is still grappling with what those changes are going to be. So standards bodies and the early working on standards are really getting involved with this, and Keysight is playing a very active role in work on these emerging standards, as well as backing in on with instrumentation. They actually give you measurement solutions. We have a solid roadmap and products being developed in multiple divisions to address the challenges that we're going to have with the switch from NRZ to PAM4 signaling. As always, with this involvement in the standards, we have a wealth of expertise in this company, so when you need application support, feel free to contact us. There's a wealth of information available at keysight.com that you can check at any time. Thank you for your participation.